Jess. How are you today?
I am really good. I'm really good. How are you?
I am great. I'm see, I have to start over. Oh,
I'm glad you did it first.
yeah. I am great. I want to thank you so much for being on today. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your business?
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. I am so excited to be here. So I am a therapist and a coach, and I mostly work with women who are either entrepreneurs, healthcare workers, teachers, people who are in pretty stressful and positions that are also very much higher achievers, and just creating a space for them to be able to take a look at where they're at and how their mental health plays into their business and what they're doing, and really kind of providing a preventative mental health aspect to their life.
Yes, because I think mental health and your mindset affects everything, which is also why I created this podcast because mindset and mental health affect your podcasting too.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yes. And I know you believe a big thing for mental health is taking care of yourself, self-care. So, what is self-care to you?
100% self-care is my jam. Self-care to me is a lot of things. It is not just the things that we think about when, you know, that, hold on, let me start that over. Self-care isn't just the things that society tells us are self-care. It's not just the flowers. It's not just the bath bombs. It's not just the getting your hair done or anything like that. Those things are absolutely self-care, and I want to make sure that we continue to do those things to make ourselves feel good. But it's also the things that we kind of put off and we don't always do for ourselves. So it's making sure we're eating healthy foods. It's making sure that we're moving our body. It's making sure that we're taking care of ourselves by kind of setting boundaries with people. It's also making sure we're going to the doctor when we need to. It's not putting off and putting ourselves last. So there's a lot of things that kind of fall under that.
Definitely. I think a lot of people think self-care is just like your morning routine. You do it for an hour in the morning, then you're done for the day. And that was self-care.
Right. Yeah. It's a thing that we put on our to-do list and check off. And we're like, cool, I did that. And now I'm done. And
Yes, exactly.
but we can start that way. Yeah, that's great.
So I would love to hear a little bit about your self-care journey, like how you started, how it has helped you, especially in your business.
Yes. Okay. So I was really bad at self-care for a really long time. And I think that that's kind of how all of us start off. We kind of get wrapped up in all of the things that we're doing at home, at school, at work, at wherever, right? And so this is back when I was in grad school. I was not working at the time, but I was just working a lot. Grad school was very difficult. And then I went into a job that was very, very intense. Um, I was doing, I was working at an inpatient psychiatric hospital, and I was working 7 days on, 7 days off. And my days on were anywhere from 10 to 14 hours a day. It just
Jeez.
really depended on what was happening during that time period. I think there was in a year and a half working there, I left work early one day, and like just one day, like I got all my things done and was able to leave early one day.
Wow.
And I had a conversation with my supervisor at the time, my supervisor for my license as a social worker, and she was like, "Hey, like, how long do you think you're gonna be able to do this?" And I was like, "I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm just doing it." I was finding that my days off, like, while it sounds great, 7 days off is fantastic. I spent the first 2 days recovering from having worked 80 hours plus the last week. 2 days getting everything done. One day actually like having fun and doing something that I enjoyed. And then the last 2 days before I went back to work, dreading what I was walking back into for the next 80 hours. And she was like, for every hour that you spend in this stressful situation, you need to have an equal amount of time doing self-care. And I was like, you got to be crazy. That's impossible to do. And I was like, that's not a real thing. And she was like, no, that's how it is. And she said, for the next week, your next week off, I want you to really pay attention and journal and keep a list of the things that you do that actually make you feel good. And so this is probably one of the only homework assignments I did from my supervisor or a therapist or anything like that. Is I don't do homework. And so this is probably one of the only assignments that I did. And it really made me realize how important some of these things are, making sure I'm getting enough sleep at night, coming home after work, and making sure that I have healthy food on hand and that I'm not just eating popcorn for dinner. And so I started making incremental little changes, things like hiring a cleaning crew to come in once a week while I was, or not once a week, but on the weeks that I was working, so that I came home and my apartment was clean. And I was just like, that was something that was taking time away from what I was doing on my off time, so things like that. I also invested in not a meal planning service, but a meal prep service, so that I had healthy foods in my freezer and I could literally pull them out when I got home from work, put it in the microwave and eat something that was really good and healthy for me, and I didn't have to cook it. So things like that, like I just started to incrementally put things into place, and it just made such a huge difference for me. So that's kind of how I really got started in self-care and making it a real, true priority for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thinking about those things that you don't have time to do, that you want to do to help yourself, and figuring out ways to make them easier for you.
Right. Yeah. Like cleaning is not, I hate cleaning. And so it was totally worth it to pay somebody to come in and clean twice a month while it was the most amazing thing. I'm not even gonna lie, I was coming home on Tuesdays. She came on Tuesdays and my sheets were clean. Like there's nothing like getting into a fresh set of sheets at the end of a 14-hour workday.
Yes, definitely. And I love that example because nobody would think hiring a house cleaner would be self-care, but it really is. If it's causing you less stress and giving you more time back.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's taking something off of your plate that you don't like to do. So now I could spend that time when I had it to do something that actually made me feel good, something that I enjoyed doing, going to the beach, spending time with my family, reading, things that actually made, I didn't have to stay up at night cleaning because I wasn't getting it done during the day or anything like that. So there's a lot of different ways to look at it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just thinking outside the box of traditional, what people call self-care.
Yes. Yes.
So, how has improving your self-care helped with your mindset and your mental health?
Yeah, I love this question. So I think it has kind of given me this ability to not care as much about what other people think. And I think that that's kind of an interesting side effect, so to speak, of this, because I used to, and I think most women can feel this in some way, like used to just do everything for everybody so much. I would put so much of myself into other people, other things, work, and just go hardcore all the time, all the time, all the time, and then just feel completely drained. And it has really helped me to kind of just be like, you know what, this is not as important as XYZ. And just making sure that I know what's important for me. So I also like to kind of give an example of when I was starting all of this self-care stuff and dating at the same time and setting boundaries for people. And it was just really interesting to see how much people that I didn't even know wanted to take from me when I was telling them no. And so it really just was like this, you know what, I have to do what's right for me before I can do what's right for anybody else. And that was such a huge thing. And so now I have things set in place where I can take care of myself and I don't feel guilty for it. And I've set my business up in a way that I have very strict guidelines for myself as to like what time I'm doing things, when I'm doing things, when I'm not doing things. And it really helps keep me from falling into that guilt trap of, oh, I just need to keep doing things, or I just need to keep going, or this needs to be done. Somebody's waiting for XYZ. It really has made me think a lot more about what I'm saying yes to.
Yeah, we definitely feel guilty for taking time for ourselves. We feel it's selfish when there's so many other things we should be doing, which I hate that word should, but yeah, but if you don't give to yourself, like eventually you're not going to be able to give to all these other things you have to give to in your life.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So I would love to tie this into some podcasting advice. So why is self-care important to someone running a podcast?
So I think running a podcast or business or anything, I think it's important to make sure that you know what your boundaries are in terms of your business and what it is that you do. Now, I like to also kind of be devil's advocate a little bit, because a lot of us go into businesses that feel like passion projects for us and feel good for us, good to us, right? And so there is an element of self-care that comes with doing your business or your podcast or engaging in that activity, and just making sure we have that balance, that we're not giving everything to this one thing where it ends up taking away from other places. And so I feel like it's very individualistic to everybody, but making sure you have that balance of, this is something that I really love to do and I'm going to do it, but then also making sure you're still taking time to take care of yourself in other ways. Like, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater kind of thing of, let me transfer, my idea of self-care from this to this, and it's still not actually being something that feeds into you, if that makes sense. Like, just make sure you know what is taking away energy from you and what is giving you energy, and making sure you can balance it out. Because I think that's where we start to get really, we can kind of trip ourselves up with the whole like, oh, this is self-care. And you're like, really? I don't know. Maybe it is, but it's not,
Yeah, really listening to yourself and seeing what's giving you that fire and energy and what's draining it.
Exactly. And then seeing, especially like with the things that are draining your energy, are these things that I can take off my plate in some way? Can I delegate it to somebody else? Can I ask for help? Can I hire someone to do these things? Can I just not do these things? Like, are these things that are essential or not? And just really being true and honest with yourself, because I think that's also a big thing, we get caught up in.
Yes, because again, we feel like we shouldn't, it's our business, so we shouldn't give it to other people to do, but that's going to help us, feel more energy and not feel so drained from those tasks we hate doing. It's going to be worth it. Yes. Because you may love hosting your podcasts, recording episodes, but then you get to that editing and show notes and all the tech stuff, and you're like, oh God.
Right, exactly. And then that's where Jillian comes in.
Yeah, that actually lights me up. Yeah, but I had to learn too, like for my own podcast, I had to get an editor, because like I can keep up with recording and stuff, but I also have clients. I can't keep up with editing my own podcast and giving to my clients. So,
right. Yeah. And I think that that's an important thing too, is to think about how many people you do give to throughout the day. It's not just our clients. It's not just the people that we're interviewing. It's not just the people that we interact with on our day. It's not, it's our kids, it's the person at the grocery store. It's the gas station attendant. It's everybody. And so each one of those people gets a little bit of us throughout the day. And it's we have to kind of be like, okay, hold on a second. I gotta do me now.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. So I would love to hear some of your tips for somebody who is just starting out maybe with this whole self-care journey and they're like, I don't even know what to do, where to start.
Yes, I know. This is my favorite part. Okay, so I get that all the time. People are like, I don't even know what to do. And my favorite thing to recommend is to legit just make a list of things that either you really enjoy doing or that you might want to do, that you've always kind of wanted to try doing, but you haven't had the time to do it. So a lot of us have these ideas of like hobbies and things that we want to explore. I would love to go ice skating sometime, or these things that we kind of see and we're like, ooh, that would be fun if I had the time. And so we get into a space. Let me go back a minute. I like to start off with a list, because when we get into a space where we're like, oh my God, I need to do something for myself and I have no idea what to do, our mind goes blank. Literally, when we are just like so burned out, our mind is completely blank and we can't even conceptualize where to start. And so I always ask people to kind of start when you're not in that burned out stage, or when you're not in the midst of, oh, I need to find something to do, and come up with some ideas. And then you have this kind of like cheat sheet to go to when you are starting to feel a little like anxious about things, or you want to take some time for yourself, but you don't know what to do. Now you have like this like huge list of things that you're like, ooh, okay, that sounds good to do. Like you can go through the things and see, maybe today feels like, okay, I want to read a book, and maybe tomorrow it's like, no, I want to go see a movie or something completely different. And so I think that there's a lot of things, particularly when we're in the mode of, I need to kind of do something that's going to make me feel good immediately, and not something that's more of like a maintenance self-care type thing of like making sure that we're going to the doctor and eating healthy food and getting enough sleep and all of those things. Those are what I can consider like maintenance self-care that we should be kind of doing all the time. But we never really think about that. We're all like, oh, I need to do something right now that's going to make me feel better. The second thing is also do it with purpose. So a lot of us get home from work and we turn on Netflix and we just like zone out. And then we don't feel recharged at all. We're like, self-care doesn't work for me, whatever. But the thing is we're not doing it with purpose. We are not sitting down and watching Schitt's Creek because we're like, this is going to make me feel so much better and I'm going to enjoy every moment of this, right? We're just kind of like just zoned completely out. So play around with that. I always like to say, play around with being purposeful with what you're choosing to do. If you're going to binge Netflix, cool, that's fine, but do it with purpose versus just like turning it on and then just being like a couch potato. And if it doesn't feel good, stop doing it and do something different. Because I think we get caught up in that too. It's like, we're just like, oh, I'm just not going to do anything. Instead of being like, okay, well, what else could I do instead? So I think those are probably my top two things. Like, make a list of things that you really could want to do and want to kind of explore and play around with those. And then whatever you end up doing, do it with purpose versus just kind of zoning out. And I guess if I could add a third one, now that I'm thinking about it, is to really kind of try to come up with a routine, something, whether it's like your nightly routine, your morning routine, something that you're doing that kind of helps you to set the stage of like adding that in every day. Washing our face at night can absolutely be self-care if we're, again, doing it with purpose. If we're just like throwing water on our face and going about our business, that's not really helping us to recharge as much as it could be.
I love that. Just kind of pausing and being like, okay, why am I doing this? Is there something I could do that would, make me feel better? Just kind of taking that moment.
Can I take this to the next level? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I love all of that. Thank you so much for those tips.
Yeah, of course.
So I have like a little fun segment I like to do, just some questions I ask every guest.
Okay.
So do you have a favorite mindset book?
Yes. Okay. So it took me a minute to think about this when you asked. I was like, okay, I really got to think about this. The Gifts of Imperfection by Brene Brown.
I haven't read that one. I've read some
Oh,
of her books.
it is not very big. It's pretty thin. It's very fast read, but I literally marked my book up all over the place. So I have highlights and writing in the margins. It is amazing. I highly recommend it.
I'll have to check that one out. Do you have an affirmation that you use that helps you out?
I will tell you it's not quite an affirmation, but it is. So when I was starting my self-care journey and like working through all of these crazy hours, one of the things that really helped me to kind of bring myself back to the present moment was going for a walk and kind of doing like a walking meditation. And I just used two words. I used love and gratitude. And it was one of those things where I was purposely mentally saying the words as I was walking. And so like each step was, love, gratitude, love, gratitude, or each breath, inhale, love, exhale, gratitude kind of thing. And so those are kind of the ones that I always go back to that help me come back to this present moment when I start to feel stressed or anxious or whatever, and allow me to stop the chatter in my head when it gets to be too much of like, there's too many things going on. I have, when you start to get into that mode of like, like so much is happening, or there's so much in my brain and I can't stop it. And my brain is just pinging, pinging, pinging. We all know how meditation is great, but meditation is hard too. And so that's the way that I like to do it. The two words.
I do really like that. Bringing yourself back to the present moment. Yeah, because meditating sometimes is hard because your mind just starts wandering because you're not really focusing like you should.
Right. And everybody's like, oh, just clear your mind. And you're like,
I have too much on my mind to clear it.
Yes. Even if I write all this stuff down, it's not going to clear my mind.
Mm-hmm. Next question is, what is your favorite podcast?
Well, other than yours, obviously.
Thank you.
Okay, can I say this? Can I say this? Or if I can't, you're gonna edit it out, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it is the Fierce as Fuck podcast, and it's by Amanda King. And instead of the U in fuck, it has a little asterisk. She's a human design expert, and I just absolutely love her authenticity. Like, she is kind of like who I aspire to be in a lot of ways, of just being in her element and being her authentic self and like not giving a care about anybody else.
I'll have to check that one
and
out.
That's just amazing.
I love human design, so I'll have to check that out. What are you in?
I am a generator.
Oh, me too. Me too. Yeah, I don't know like a ton. I've been learning a little bit about it, but yes.
Mm-hmm. It made so much sense. I did a reading with her, and it made so much sense when I like sat down and like she was telling me about myself, which is amazing. But then I'm like, okay, but how do I do this? And so I need to go back and watch the recording that from our session. But yeah, I love her. She's hilarious. She's very like down to earth, very personable. I feel like she and I would be friends if we were, down the street from each other.
Yes, I'll have to check that one out. So
yeah,
thank you so much for coming on today. And I know our listeners are going to want to connect with you. So how can they do that?
Yeah. So first, thank you for having me. I am so grateful for it. So on Instagram and Facebook and pretty much any social media, I am at the Jess Aycock, TheJessAycock. And yeah, that's my website too. And I've got some amazing groups on Facebook, one that focuses all on self-care and one that focuses on kind of the preventative mental health for business owners, and would love to have anybody in that feels called to it.
Awesome. I will make sure all those links are in the show notes. So
Thank
thank
you.
you. Thank you again for being on and have a great day.
Thanks, you too.